good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. We are the Man United Agenda. And Ruben Amorim has been sacked. As of 10 o'clock this morning, the news went out. He's been relieved of his duties. He is no longer Manchester United manager. I'm joined by the return of the Sith Lord himself on a day of sacking, someone losing their job. But Rebel, you are back, and what a day, what a time, what news to come back to. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Absolutely smothered with a cold, but you know, the news is the news. We have to press forward. We have to step into the breach, and we have to cover it. And I suppose there's many facets that we'll probably be discussing over the next, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, however long this goes on for, of the permutations and what sacking him does mean. I think last night in the group after that press conference, there was a lot of us felt, oh, he's gone, because that was like a death rattle, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That press conference, he pulled a Ralph Ranić really, and he literally stuck it to the Glazers, to Ineos, and I suppose obviously you have a schedule of things you want to cover today, Rio. But the question I have for you is, how do you feel about Ineos now?
no. This going forward, people. Obviously, you know me. I've said I will give my backing support. Give them time. I like to give everyone time, and for me, I put the W on the front. That is, I am officially removing the W. They are now Ineos. I feel like putting an L there, Lineos. Like, you know, I'm not impressed. I am Ineos out. I am officially at that point. I'm sick and tired of this regime now. And yep, the chat. It's all systems go. It is all systems go. Big up, Vinny, good afternoon. Matthew, good afternoon. Mr. B, of course, you're happy. Fantastic news. Adios, you useless twat, and take your negative tactics with you. Oh, Stu. Oh, Stu. In the words of Bill Goldberg, who's next? Sorry, I need to do the words. Who's next? I don't think Darren Fletcher is the answer. I have seen the under 18s play and struggle in some games, and the thing is, he will pick both of his sons to play. Yeah, touching on that to be fair. So obviously Ruben Amorim's gone. Obviously we will keep talking about him, and Darren Fletcher comes into situ, and mixed feelings about that. It's feeling like Ali 2.0 again. Um, do you feel they had this kind of already lined up? Ruben Amorim, he's kind of pressed the big red button. He has dropped the bomb, the nuke last night. But do you think they had this simmering, and Darren Fletcher was always going to be this interim um, person?
Well, I think that obviously they probably felt that they couldn't appoint any of Ruben's assistants. I think they were just looking at that saying, look, they're loyal to their man. They're not going to basically take over on an interim basis. I think the one thing with Darren Fletcher is I actually believe that'll be a short-term appointment. I don't think you'll see him doing what Ollie did in that he had time to earn the job, for want of a better word. For better or worse, we can obviously revisit that another point, but I think Darren Fletcher clearly is very much a stopgap.
Yeah.
I don't have any confidence in the man. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is Darren Fletcher's role at Manchester United Football Club, because he seems to be bounced around from department to department depending on what stage of the year you're in. But I suppose the question I want to touch on with you is, obviously we all had our own feelings on Ruben Amorim. We all had our feelings about the transfer business of Glinios, aka the Glazers, and Ineos. We've had the rumblings of the interference from Wilcox with Ruben Amorim outside of the I suppose, the football in that he wanted to influence the way that Ruben played. But if you look at the big picture, and you look at, and I've had this debate with Solo, it gets quite heated at times. It feels like the players never, ever, ever catch the tar on the brush. It feels like the players always get away scot-free. And I think the one thing me and you are aligned on, Rio, is we look at the players that have been there for multiple Manchester United managers. Not just one, not just two, but multiples.
Yeah.
And their continued failures. I think there's a big iceberg of problems, and Ruben Amorim was the tip and the least consequential one of that. I don't know how you feel.
Bang on, bang on. You know, first person that came to mind then, Luke Shaw. How many managers he's it's going to be a record. It's going to be a record for amount of managers being at one club. It surely has to be like 100%. I'm sick and tired of this player FC mentality. I really am. You know, I don't mind it when you've got players that you like and you love, and they've got a bit of flair and they're giving it to the club. You know, there's a reason why you like them. But when it comes to the other way around, and it's a manager being thrown out, fed to the wolves, time and time and time again, and these managers are not given the time to do what they want to do. And you know what? I keep saying it, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. It wasn't doom and gloom with Ruben Amorim. Yeah, I wanted him to stay. There was mixed opinions across the panel, which is fair, which is equal, which is no issue with me. Everyone had their own opinion, but I always say a manager needs time, and ultimately that time is to allow this crap bunch of players to go during the manager's impulse, and that I once again, that's not been allowed to happen.
Can I ask you this, Rio? Who would you consider currently to be the best manager in the world?
If I had to pull out there, Pep, first person to come to mind.
Right, let's just say Pep had no affiliation ever with Manchester City. And you look at Manchester United Football Club as a setup from the players all the way to the ownership. How long would Pep Guardiola last at Manchester United Football Club before you're sacked?
He wouldn't last long. He wouldn't last long purely because of the manager's not the issue. They all have their different traits. Yeah. For example, the big one, the elephant in the room, Ruben Amorim was a free at the back manager. You know, if Pep had the same players, he might have got us an extra point here and there, you know, but long term, he would have eventually succumbed to being sacked because of the fact that you know, is he going to be able to get Delo doing what he gets, like the right backs he's had over the years, Walker, Cancelo? No. These players, what is it? A leopard doesn't change their spots. That's what these players are. They're scum. They're absolute scum. You know, and we're gonna have the likes of players coming back now from loans. That'll be interesting when that situation happens. You know, big one in the elephant in the room, Rashford. What happens with him when he comes back? That's a topic for another day. But yeah, I'm sick of player FC. People in the chat, you let us know how you feel about this as well. Like, long term, do you think this is good? Are you happy? Who comes in? Is there a long term like person to come in? Would you think Darren Fletcher will stay in situ to the end of the season? Which I simply think that cannot be the case. But yeah, frustrating, very frustrating. I'm you know my thoughts on Amorim. I'm devastated. I'm simply devastated. I wanted him to have more time.
Yeah. Oops, that's the wrong one. The question is though, if you look at Manchester United Football Club, there's probably going to be the death of 3-5-3 or whatever kind of system you want to call it. This
3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, 3-5-2. What? 3, just 3. The 3 is
done. This is the odds at the moment, and this scares me. Paddy Power have the failed fraud that was at Chelsea.
The fifth one down.
Yeah, but at least he's out there in cyberspace at 10-1. the top two runners at 2.5 to 1 and 3 to 1. You've got a lad that came into the Premier League and was out of his fucking depth in Enzo Maresca, that was fired by Chelsea for playing brutal football and not getting results. Like, that's basically a sideways step. And then you got Darren Fletcher, a man that's never, ever, ever, ever had a proper football job. Like, the only credible one there really is Oliver Glasner, isn't it? And probably Zabi.
Yeah, Glasner, but at the same time, I don't want Glasner coming. I'm sorry, if they're gonna get Glasner, you might as well stop with Bammer because he plays shocking football. So I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of Glasner. But this is it now. The names are just gonna keep cycling through.
Yeah, but the question is, Rio, Manchester United Football Club. We've now sacked yet another manager. We've been pretty much not even in touching distance of a league title challenge since Fergie won it 14 years ago now, isn't it, at this stage, in his final season. With the current incumbents, aka the Americans that still haven't paid for our football club and launched and lauded the debt of purchasing the club onto our finances, and with the likes of Ineos basically keeping them afloat. But I think when you look at a minority shareholder, they're only going to do so much before it financially doesn't make any sense anymore. What is it going to take for Manchester United Football Club to get back to where they are? And Aces is mentioning Southgate. If he comes in, I don't know if you're of the same view, but they're unwatchable.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to watch the team anymore. I will, obviously, with one eye shut. But nah, I can't. And he's buddies with Ineos, isn't he? With Ratcliffe. So I can see it happening, to be fair. And I don't want it to. Let's ignore that name. He should not be named.
Like, I watched a fair bit of the England team when he was their manager, because obviously they were games that they were playing against the teams that you wanted to watch, the Frances, the Brazils, the Argentinians. They were playing all the top nations, your Portugals, your Spains. But again, the killer for me with Gareth Southgate was, regardless of whether you were playing the attacking prowess of the French with all their strikers, or the Spanish with the likes of your Yamals and your whatever, he played the same stylistic, negative, dour football against an Andorra, a Liechtenstein. Like, Manchester United Football Club, do we even have the players to play his negative football? Like, you talk about profiles of players. Those players, I guarantee you, will be complaining about the way they've been utilised within 6 weeks.
Yeah, no, it can't happen. Although yesterday was ironic that we played with 8 defenders. So as a one-off, it might have been the case. Ooh, Liverpool fan here, but I come in peace. Goldbridge wants to revert to a back four. If you do that, what's your best lineup? Oh. And again, we're falling into the trap here. And Cop on Podcast, thank you for the comment. I'm just falling into the trap here, though. Is you're getting me to think about these players and putting them into a different formation, and I just want the players gone. You know, it is easy. Yeah, they can go into a 4-back, and thankfully, the players that we have signed over the window, in the summer, they suit a 4-back formation system perfectly fine. So it won't be hard.
I'm going to ask you the question, though. Forget about identifying the specific players, right? There's obviously going to be questions about De Ligt, Maguire, who be the two in the centre back, Yoro, Heaven. There's obviously the issues with the left and right back, and who obviously that would be the end of Ahmed playing defensive. He'd have to be accommodated elsewhere then after that. But when you look at that central midfield, you've got to start Casemiro, Menu, and probably Bruno.
Let me just interject quickly. Do you definitely think we do go back to a 4-back now?
it really does truly depend on who comes in. Like Darren Fletcher will not continue to play that 3-3-4-2-1 or whatever way that it lined up on the given day. I don't think he has the tactical ability to do that.
Yeah.
No, he might surprise me.
Yeah.
But I reckon it's most likely that a 4-3-3 is brought in. Now, the only way that other system is maintained is whatever Glasner's version of it is if he takes over. But like we have a serious issue in midfield with a 4-3-3. Not with the starting three, but with coverage, which are like Ugarte probably is going to be one cover. That's fine. Toby Collier has been recalled from his loan apparently, but he's injured, so he won't be available for 2 months. Like, if you're looking for substitutions, because we were talking about that bench before the United game at the weekend, who's going to come in if something goes wrong, if somebody goes down, if somebody gets suspended? We have a personnel deficiency to cover a 4-3-3. And Mr. B, name the names.
No, I have to kind of agree with him because the difference is we never really were too fully deficient in the midfield. We was deficient in the midfield with a 2 in a 3-back system. So it changes a bit. You know, you can then the profile of what needs to be in that midfield changes a lot different. You know, you can't. Mason Mount will be back. You know, let's not forget we are going to get players back, and thankfully the next game is Burnley, so the timing of that is probably got something to do with it as well.
Here's the question though: with that double pivot, right? I lead the argument out there about your Maino, your Casemiro, your Ugarte, and your Collier, as we deserve better, says, for that 2 position, right? Mount and Bruno now are head to head. And does Mount regress now that Ruben Amorim, who favoured him, is gone? Does he see his minutes diminish in that situation? Because Bruno all of a sudden pushed up further. Ahmad also is likely to be vying for that spot. So you got those 3 players there. Obviously, you'll continue with the likes of your Mbumos when he comes back and your Cunhas on 2 of the front 3. But again, then you've got your situation of Josh Zirkzee. Is he adequate backup for Sesko? Do we actually start seeing the best of Sesko with a 4-3-3? Like, I suppose there's a lot of variables, and you look at that squad and you see imbalance in terms of the numbers covering the different areas, don't you?
It's the wide areas that are going to be the ones to think about because, again, Mount can play wide, Bruno can play wide. Believe it or not, he's played wide before. He's not quick, he's not rapid, but again, the system changes completely now. The dynamics will change completely. It will be a completely different contrast. You can play with inverted playmakers, which will be your Mounts and your Brunos if you do need to go down that path. Then you can play with your fullbacks bombing them even more now. And you'll have the cover in the midfield. It will look different. Obviously, we're just guessing here. Interesting. Obviously, the turnaround is very quick. You know, we play on Wednesday. So, what? Darren Fletcher press conference. I'm guessing that will be tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets asked. I'm pretty sure he'll be asked, will he be going to a 4-back system? And yeah, we deserve better. I agree with you. Cunha can rotate with Shesko. Matt, Bangon, Martinez, Leacher can play in midfield. It does change the dynamic now. Obviously, I'm gutted. I am absolutely gutted about Amorim. I will keep saying it. And people, if you haven't done so already, smash a like for this breaking news, this big news, monumental news. But I will always say I wanted a 4-back. You know, I'm a 4-back formation person. I just want Amorim to have time. So it'd be interesting. It'd be very interesting to see how we set up. Oh, you muted. There you go.
Sorry, I just want to read the official statement from Manchester United Football Club and just get your views on the wording and the terminology. Ruben Amorim has departed his role as head coach. It was mentioned head coach of Manchester United Football Club. With Manchester United sitting 6th in the Premier League, the club's leadership has reluctantly made the decision that it is the right time to make a change. This will give the team the best opportunity of the highest possible Premier League finish. The club would like to thank Ruben for his contribution to the club and wishes him well in the future. Kind of a very nondescript, blasé statement, but the interesting one is with the club finishing 6th. So are they saying that their standard now is Champions League football by that statement?
It's poor. I feel like he's been sacked for the wrong reasons. He's been sacked because he spoke out. They're mentioning it's the opportunity for the club to finish in the best possible position. That's a lie. We're in a good position at this moment in time. Not the greatest position, but we were on track. We're on road to where we needed to be. He's been sacked because of what he said. Simply put, and Maresca, that whole situation with Chelsea, does that help? Probably not. That probably not help the situation. But the ironic thing is, I think he's been getting paid, 15 mil, 20 mil payout? That could have covered the player that he could have got, which would have helped us get top 4.
Yeah, I suppose my last question, because obviously I'm conscious of the time, is we've seen Ruben Amorim lashing out against the ownership and throwing shadow boxing jabs. He's now departed the club. We saw Cristiano Ronaldo give an interview with the most hated man in England, probably, Piers Morgan, and he told some home truths. He got shunted out of the club. Ralph Rangnick told us a couple of years ago that we needed open heart surgery and detailed the list of deficiencies in Manchester United Football Club. He got quickly moved on from the club, even though he was supposed to be the director of football and running things off the field. But they didn't like what he had to say. So is there a bit of egotistical kind of viewing from the ownership, mainly the Americans, who are the majority shareholders, that their crap doesn't stink and that they're fully entitled to strip mine our club until there's nothing left?
It feels that way. It's Ineos, you've been saying it, they are like the puppet of Glazers, the Glazers in disguise. Ultimately, the Glazers are the majority shareholder, as you say. They have the ability to get rid of Ineos. All this is happening under their watch. Let's not forget, they can remove Ineos. Ineos is almost like an employee to the situation. So why are they not getting reviewed? Ineos, this is another manager under their watch that's just been removed from their from post. So it doesn't look good on them. But will the Glazers care? Probably not. But yeah, ultimately, Ruben Amorim, a manager that's kind of, he's a martyr, isn't he? He's sacrificed himself. He's putting it out there. And will he go on to be successful? I think he will. Are you overall, are you happy with him going?
Like, I kind of lost patience with the way he continued to kind of stick with something that wasn't working. Now, at the start, I was kind of going, well, Ten Hag changed his system for those players and he got slaughtered for changing his system, for not kind of seeing it through and trying to come through the bad patch. But I kind of lost faith in Ruben Amorim when we started losing games and making questionable substitutions, trying to, when we were chasing goals, bringing on defenders. Now, if there was an injury, fair enough, you get over that. But he just seemed to kind of not want to be there in the way that his tactics were manifesting. I'm happy enough that he's gone. Could he have done better with the players he wanted? Yes. Is he the main issue at Manchester United Football Club? No. I think we still have massive problems in the playing squad, and we have massive problems with the debt and how it's restricting our ability to basically do a factory reset on the club. The Glazer family have crippled us, and we are continuing to see the effects of that, because they're talking about a stadium, Ineos, that is 7-8 years down the line. They don't even know if they're going to be still a shareholder at that stage. So they're talking, like, obviously they done up the training ground, and it's lovely. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of issues that the club needs to address, and I think it doesn't matter who the next manager is or the manager after that if we don't fix the other more scary big problems at our club.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a deeper issue, and it's the fan base are gonna get behind this Amorim sacking in terms of go back and fire towards the Glazers, go back and fire towards Ineos. The protests, they might come back out again. But ultimately, it may be a case of new manager bounce, and it might be a case of it might quiet down. But I think it might go the other way around. We could finish worse off, not get any European football again, and then what? Ineos? I speak to you, Ineos, and then what? Glazers, I speak to you, and then what? So
can I actually touch on this quickly just before we do log off, because I don't know if you remember in the past when you were a young player at a club, the stories were that you were signed the senior pro, you used to clean their boots, you used to make sure that certain things were done, and in turn you got advice on how to basically develop your career. And if one of the senior pros came over, you listened to them. Now, whatever about public criticism, that is obviously an aspect that is an issue in that you're not going to get 2 of those players if you've blasted them on the media. But have players become a bit soft? Have they become a bit blind in that they see their own ability as far exceeding anything that a senior seasoned pro who has won multiple trophies with other clubs, with our club, that they can turn around and look them in the eye and say, who are you to tell me anything? I'm whoever I am, youth player. Like, have we got egotistical players that will not take criticism, and that at the first sign that they feel that they're being jeopardized will run to the media?
Absolutely. And it's a joke. We deserve better. Appreciate the comment, respect your opinion. But I'm tired of it. The whole Kobe Miney situation. Ultimately, you listen to the manager. He's not said anything out of line. He hasn't gone, said anything disrespectful. He's just trying to do his job and trying to get the best out of the team that he's got. And ultimately, a manager will deem a player not suitable for what he wants to do. And that's it. You move on from it. So in terms of the criticism, yeah, players have become softer. And ultimately, they will be the ones that get found out. They're the ones that are now playing for another club that gets a manager sacked and still likes comments about our club. Garnacho, prime example. Toe rag. I will say that. Absolute toe rag. But yeah, criticism, take it on the chin, move on, and you'll prosper.
I do agree with this. I don't like a manager that threatens to resign and walk when things go wrong. That's obviously definitely not a trait that you want. You want a bit of resolve, a bit of steel in your manager. So he's obviously not without blemish. I don't think anybody's saying that Ruben Amorim was perfect. But I think when you look at it holistically, you have to look at the players, you have to look at the management, and you have to look at their ability to coexist together. And Manchester United Football Club failed to do that. And now it's up to the owners, if they can be bothered getting off their arses, to identify where those problems are and to fix them. But Rio, what's coming up tonight? Right, let people know before we go.
Well, we've got the aftermath. Normally, the aftermath of a game. I think the game would probably have to take a back seat on this one. It's the aftermath of the Amorim sacking, so we'll have pretty much the whole panel on this evening. So join us for more talk about what's happened today. Ruben Amorim being sacked. Yeah, I'm sure Mr. B, Colin, Yaba, they'll want to have their say on the matter. Definitely.
Absolutely. I suppose it was an unexpected bit of news in that it happened so quickly. But I suppose there's a lot of dust to settle, Rio, and we now have to, I suppose, kind of ask the people in the chat, and this might feed into your aftermath. How long is acceptable before a permanent manager is appointed to Manchester United Football Club? How long are you giving them to assess the available managers? And what is the minimal acceptable standard that you have? Do you want Premier League proven managers, the ones that can actually go toe-to-toe in the league against the likes of your low block teams? Do you want someone that has massive European reputation? Do you want someone that is seen as the next big star? Because Ruben Amorim was seen as the natural successor to Pep Guardiola before we moved in. Erik ten Hag was seen as a successor to Klopp at one point. So we have gone for those managers in the past. Do we now steer clear? I suppose that is all the questions that will be mulling around over the next couple of days.
Quick answer for me. I want a manager that will be back.
And
that's it.
Do you believe the ownership will back a manager in January, or will they maintain the status quo?
They've showed their hand now. I don't trust them. So, no. I think they'll get someone to pacify us, leave it right to the and ultimately not spend the penny.
Yeah. A non-Manchester United fan is basically saying, from the outside looking in, it's a manager that wasn't backed, obviously, albeit with his own problems in terms of the way he conducted himself, and that it's been a car crash by the executive, and I think that is fair. And I would make chat about Project New Stadium as well. But I do need to get back to work because I would be hung, drawn, and quartered if I don't.
It's taken us all our schedule. Believe me, I get it, and so do I. To be fair.
But do you want to sign up, Rio?
Yeah, I'll sign us off. Obviously, people, if you haven't done so already, please smash the like. And we'll be back later on, 9 p.m. The aftermath. Rebel, it's good to have you back. And with this big bombasto. I'm sure we'll hear from you again.
Yeah, and hopefully I won't be completely smothered, and I might make it on tonight, but no promises.
Take it easy. People, have a great day. And then, we've been the Man United agenda. Big news. Take it easy. Bye.